I have a very serious question for those of you who keep missing my gender. When have you ever met a he, him who looks like this? Huh? She, her, yes. They, them, sure. He, him, who? And if you do know a he who hims like this, power to him. But the he, hims I know, never he, the way I, she. So when I present you with she, they so kindly, could you not he, him all over my sleigh? Thank you. I have a...
Damn. Clint's girlfriend is out of control again.
Not again.
Talk about a gender blender. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. My name is Zurkadowski here of thebestpoliticalshow.com. And holy cow, there's a lot of absolutely crazy news to get into today. As, of course, the national debt just reached $34 trillion as we have an insane woke mind virus that we have to deal with that Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are calling out. We also have a lot of crazy developments about the story of the decade. We have another pathetic apology. We're going to be getting into that, plus a lot more, all here for the next 2 hours with some really incredible people in the studio, in-house with us today for this incredible conversation that you should right now share with your friends and family members. The next 2 hours, we are going to be going live, and you could participate in the conversation by also signing up to lukeunfiltered.com, as of course we just had a lower tiered available for everyone just for $8 a month, where you guys will get the ability not only to get exclusive behind the scenes reports, but the ability to call into the show and participate in this conversation by calling in and asking any question you guys want unscreened. You could show us whatever you want. It's going to be on Rumble, so it's going to be a free-for-all. So to be a part of that, sign up right now on lukeunfiltered.com. We have that linked down in the description below. As of course, we also have mysuperchat.com, a website where your super chats actually show up on screen. It's only a 3% service charge. Our YouTube charges 30% for every super chat. MySuperChat.com, only 3%, and your super chat shows up on the screen when you, of course, give us any of your money for your comments, which, of course, we will be reading here on this broadcast for the next 2 hours, as it's awesome to have your participation and, of course, your financial support, which is crucial towards this independent media organization. Joining us for the next 2 hours is the one and only Mel K. Mel, for the people who don't know you, who are you and how would you introduce yourself?
I have a podcast called The Mel K Show. I have been trying to uncover what I believe is going on in the world the best I can for the last few years. And I'm really excited to be here and talk about that.
Awesome. Clint's been very busy with his new girlfriends, right, Clint?
I got a new one today. Yesterday it was a different one. It's excruciating, but you know what? They're just trying to hug the hate out of the world, and so am I. Clint Russell, host of Liberty Lockdown, as well as Tower Gang, as well as the best political show, with your daily reminder that you need to be going to your podcast app and searching both Liberty Lockdown as well as the best political show, smashing that subscribe button so you do not miss an episode. Steph.
Hello, everyone.
Clint's been a busy man. Steph, how are you?
I'm doing great. You can find me on Instagram at StephWeAreChange.
All right, let's just get right into it. As the U.S. national debt just hit $34 trillion for the first time in history. Record numbers, as this debt has skyrocketed, not only under the Biden administration, but also previously under the Trump administration, which a lot of people don't really like to talk about. But I think it's important to remind ourselves that this is not just a Democrat problem. This is a Republican problem. This is an establishment problem. This is a servitude and enslavement problem, as of course, there's no going back from this. There's no way we could repay $37 trillion unless we go through a Weimar, Zimbabwean, Venezuelan hyperinflation event that, of course, will make money meaningless and therefore have absolutely no value at all. How do you guys see this problem solved, if it ever is going to be solved?
I don't think it's going to be solved, unfortunately. The options are for Powell and the Fed to continue to maintain interest rates at these quite high levels, north of 5%. They were at the zero bound just a few years ago. This increase has been breakneck in pace. And for those that don't understand how this works, essentially the national debt is borrowing based off of treasuries. Those treasuries are now rolling over into these higher interest rates. Before they were at 0%, which meant that T-bills were in the 2 to 3% range. Now, if you roll over this very same debt that's on the books today, not all of it has rolled over. So basically, they are in a rock and a hard place. At this current trajectory, we will pay over $1.2 trillion on interest alone in the next 12 months. That is 50% higher than what we spend on national defense, ladies and gentlemen. This is very, very serious.
And the problem with the U.S. petrodollar also just took a very stunning turn just a few hours ago, as we have this news report from the Jerusalem Post detailing how Iran, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Egypt, and Ethiopia are going to be joining the BRICS nation alliance economic state that, of course, will now double their membership and include a lot of very important countries that provide a lot of important national resources on the world stage that, of course, are directly countering and going up against the U.S. petrodollar. This is big news, as of course a lot of people don't like to talk about the financial stuff. They don't like to talk about the in the weeds stuff. But holy freaking cow, this is like a bat signal of just utter crap coming our way. I don't know how else you guys see it, but lots of crap coming our way, especially for the U.S. petrodollar.
Well, I think their only way out, this is very scary for more reasons than one, is because the central bank digital currency seems to be their only way that they can go. And they're going to start to tell us that that's the only way we can all survive. So it's as they message this more and more, but at the same time, that BRICS nation currency is backed by gold. And that's the difference now. And they are totally at a place where they are making America's money, America's power, everything obsolete. And nobody seems to be doing anything in America except for spending money we don't have. And the American people have to really start to wake up, because suddenly and very shortly, I believe they will be announcing that we won't have a choice, and they will be instituting the central bank digital currency. And that is the end for freedom, as far as I'm concerned.
All we need is a major galvanizing infrastructure attack, or just attack on the money that exists, or just hyperinflation. Oh, your money is absolutely worthless. Here, your money's going to be valuable if you sign up and then give up all of your privacy, all of your rights, and we know every little thing that you're doing, as of course we're going to tax, regulate, and control you, just like they do in China with the social credit score. That's the end game. Will they do it by crashing the dollar? That's a question that I think I'm even asking myself.
Yeah, well, and the only way that they're going to get people on board is if we're already in significant financial struggles, which some people already are, so I don't want to understate it, but the real carrot will be UBI. They're going to offer you universal basic income, but it's going to be tied to a central bank digital currency. It's quite clear to me that's how it's going to happen. But the entire reason that we've been able to spend so far above our means is because we were the reserve currency of the world. What people need to pay attention to is that the antagonistic approach towards Russia and the confiscation of over $200 billion from their central bank is what has ultimately triggered this BRICS alliance into formulating itself. So this is, every time people go, finance is boring, foreign policy is boring, all of this stuff matters. Every time you go to a gas station, you can't afford to fill up. Every time you go to a fast food place and you can't afford to buy half of what you used to. This is why. It has real world consequences, and it's time we pay attention.
Yeah, it's the economy, stupid, just like many prominent politicians always kind of say before an election year. But this is the economy also being kind of propped up. This is the economy with the Federal Reserve full steam ahead, working with the Biden administration, trying to keep everything up. What's going to happen after this election cycle, especially, let's just say, if a Republican gets in? All of those kind of larger artificial systems that keep the U.S. petrodollar where it is right now, they're at stake of just utterly collapsing, and so does the U.S. petrodollar. So a lot of people, to answer the kind of question that I asked you guys originally, if they're going to do this, I think for me personally, it's not a matter if, but when. And exactly. I think after the election, that's usually when we predominantly see the economy kind of crack down and really hit the fan when it comes to dealing with the larger ramifications of it being artificially held up as it is right now. So what's your guys' prediction for what's going to happen after the election?
Well, I think we have to also start paying real attention to what is going on with China, with the Belt and Road Initiative, to China with Taiwan. I think sooner rather than later, they're going to start the same rhetoric they had during going into Ukraine, that we have to go save Taiwan. They need to open another front. That's another way they get to push this economic situation down the road, to make it another front in a war where we're not just in 2 wars, we're in about 6. And now they're going to add Taiwan because Xi just said in his first speech of the new year that he's going to be unifying Taiwan before their election with China officially. So that's what we're going to see. But I think as the American people, we have to start being really honest about how we got here, who's responsible, and start realizing that they are trying again and again to divide us, neighbor versus neighbor, and that is not the problem. The problem here is that we've been greatly deceived. We've been led into this path. We, the people, still have a shot to get out of it, but we have to start being honest that this is the road that they took us down. And you know, I don't know what else to do except for to say to people, you know, we're all really in a bad shape. And instead of countering the Belt and Road Initiative, instead of not using sanctions to alienate the world financially, using sanction warfare, now the world doesn't want to play anymore. So people keep saying, you know, what are we going to do? Who are you going to vote for? Whatever. All I know is these people are marching us towards World War III and don't seem to have any interest in peace, in cooperation, in figuring out how to work with the BRICS nations. You can't stop the Belt and Road Initiative. You have to negotiate with these people. And it seems to me the rest of the world, especially the BRICS people that met around the beginning of October, 130 nations, they sounded like they were saying they're going to have nothing to do with the Biden regime going forward. They're done. They don't trust them, and they're going to move forward without us. And it really is up to the people to really start making a big deal about it.
Yeah, and there's a couple things that are worth noting here, especially with how connected the U.S. economy is to the Chinese economy, especially when it comes to our dependence on antibiotics and commonly used medications that we still keep depending on China for getting all of them. There's also physical bank locations being closed here within the United States, forcing more people to use online banking. Of course, I think this has a lot to do with also not only the kind of build back better Bidenomic policies, but more importantly, the larger kind of social credit score, ESG, larger digital dollar that they're trying to ram down everyone's throat, as already a lot of transactions are all online. And the more that they could get rid of cash, the more they could get rid of privacy, the more that they could get rid of any kind of liberty or secrecy, which is absolutely essential in correlation to each other, as already there's a major trade route that has been closed down. There's no war with China right now, but when you look at the Red Sea trading route, it is essentially closed down, and many countries are avoiding it, mainly because of the larger problems with the Houthis, with the Yemenis government there, as well as the British and American government that sent a significant amount of military hardware into the region. As now the supply chain is being shocked, shipping costs have skyrocketed, and inflation pressures are only going up, as of course a lot of people expect a bigger conflict in the Middle East that is unfolding there, as some politicians are saying that we are already in some kind of holy war. No matter how you kind of slice it, the bread's falling on crap. You're going to have a crap sandwich. Enjoy.
Yeah, there was a double tap strike. For those that don't know what that is, basically it's where there's an initial strike with some sort of missile launch, devastation, and then when you have first aid and first responders that arrive, they strike again. That's what happened in Iran this morning. Right. A lot of people don't know about it because it hasn't, the West doesn't really care, but over 100 people allegedly were killed in it. We still don't know who. I think I have my guess. I won't make public what my guess is.
Well, they're saying that this was a terrorist attack. We actually have the articles pulled up. This is the story that I was going to be leading with. No. It's fine. We could get into it now, as of course the Associated Press is reporting that at least 95 people were KIA'd in a blast at a ceremony that was honoring a slain general that, of course, Donald Trump extrajudiciously took out himself. The CNN is reporting more than 100 people KIA'd in twin blasts near an Iranian commander's grave. This, of course, is Soleimani, the guy that Donald Trump bragged about killing like a dog, and virtually brought us closer to a potential larger conflict with Iran. So, yeah, this is an important story, as, of course, a lot of civilians were affected here. This is a story that isn't getting a lot of play in the corporate media, but I think it's significant, especially when it comes to the ratcheting up of tensions that have been happening in the region, especially between the Israelis and the larger Muslim population that are at odds with each other.
Yeah, I mean, it's the most lethal attack in Iran since the 1980s, and people, even though you've heard a lot of bluster from American politicians and political pundits about how war with Iran, let's go to war, let's go to war, let's go to war. They just say it constantly. Iran is no joke. That is not a country that you're going to roll over like you did Iraq. I mean, we didn't even win in Afghanistan, but you're not going to roll over it like Afghanistan either. I mean, Iran is a very serious, hill to climb, and it gives me great pause or great concern that Soleimani's strike in 2018 or Trump's strike on Soleimani in 2018, and everyone goes, oh, all you anti-war libertarians, you were all so afraid that this was going to lead us to world war. Well, this is the problem: is that just because it didn't happen in the months after doesn't mean that it won't. That what they were doing, they were celebrating his passing, or honoring his passing, I guess you should say. It was like the 4th or 5th year anniversary of it, and that's where this terrorist strike happened. This is going to enrage these people in a very sincere way, so I'm nervous about it.
Well, the Iranian Ayatollah has announced on Twitter, of all places, that there will be a harsh response addressing those who are behind the explosions that, according to the initial reports, were remotely detonated and injured nearly 200 people as well. Sorry, Mel, you had something to say?
No, what I was going to say, honestly, is like they also didn't report last week that a Russian interior Russian country area in Russia got hit. 20 civilians died. They also call it a terrorist attack. It was
in Belgrade.
Right, and it was not reported, and it was within their borders. So, of course, to them, this is a big deal as well, and they've also spoken out about it. So, at the same time, I think the bigger question we have to all start asking, those of us that do not want to accelerate World War III, which I believe we are already in, is who's benefiting from all of this? I believe, again, as I say on my show a lot, I think the same financial backers of all of these wars are the only ones that benefit in the end. I think they're all very related. And the sad part is that we, the people of the United States, for the first time in our history, are being blamed. If you look at foreign papers, foreign journalists, foreign people, they're wondering why the American people aren't speaking out, aren't standing up. They've never seen this before during Vietnam and at other times. Maybe it's because of January 6th. I don't know. But a lot of people around the world are questioning why the American people are letting our so-called leaders lead us down this path. I go back always to the PNAC document forward. Our country has been stolen, and we, the people, are paying for it. And none of us really, I don't feel good about this or want this to happen. So, where do we go from here? How do we, the people, say enough?
For those that don't know.
We also just got a comment here on YouTube for Conundrum Drew saying it was a different general. Luke, your TDS is showing.
No, it wasn't. It was Soleimani.
It actually wasn't. Here's the article that I just, Steph, leave the browser there, saying that in January 2022, President Donald Trump authorized the killing of Iranian General Soleimani. That's who we're talking about here. That's who, of course, is placed here in the article. So no, that was not the case. We got another super chat here from Mark's Lives saying, Luke, Clint, Steph, and Mel, would you rather date Juggalo or Gigolo, and why? And what would you do if someone tried to take your couch? We're going to get into that maybe on Rumble, but let's continue on with the conversation here as, of course, this kind of larger American neoconservative approach towards Iran has been building up ever since the Project for a New American Century. They've been writing about causing a conflict there. The war in Iraq essentially helped put Iran in a more prominent position, allowed them to have more of a sphere of influence in the region, and the United States essentially propped them up to be the next big global war on terror target. Now there are people hell-bent, as we know from U.S. General Wesley Clark, that already had it in their plans that this war in Iran is going to happen no matter what. And I think it's important to call out whoever is the president of the United States, when they launch very aggressive measures, we should be thinking about the larger plans for this war that have been set down the groundwork for many years now. So I don't think it's Trump derangement syndrome, as well as just calling Trump's policy actions for what they were, extremely aggressive actions against the Iranians that did bring us on the brink of a potential war with Iran, which the neoconservatives wanted for a very long time. That's the truth. I don't care if you like it or if you don't like it. That's what happened.
Yep. And just a reminder, the reason that they went after Soleimani is because he was allegedly responsible for helping train the Iraqis on the use of IEDs against American troops. Well, I certainly don't support that, and it's tragic that we lost any American troops. It should be remembered that we were in Iraq for no reason. for complete and utter lies. WMDs were lies. Their involvement in 9/11, or the date in September, that was also a lie. I think that it's important to realize that if you invade a country on false pretenses and then people fight back, that doesn't make you a victim. It's just the reality of the situation. And I feel like oftentimes people forget that if you declare war on or you don't even declare war, you have an unconstitutional war based off of lies, and then you lose troops, and then you play victim, the rest of the world is not going to have any sympathy for you, nor should they.
Yeah, and what's not working anymore is this zero-sum game situation. We win, they lose. We win, they lose. You see Lindsey Graham's on TV saying, let's blow Iran off the map. And I'm thinking, what is going on? These people, we have to really just start taking account. People don't want to, when you talk about what America has done around the world, there's a lot of Americans that just don't even want to go there. They don't want to think about it. They don't want to take responsibility for it. As citizens of this country, and since it is our money and our children that have been dying overseas and all these wars and all these army bases and whatever, if they can't fight the war on the China front, Iran front, and everywhere else without a draft, and I'll tell you what, it's not going to matter what color you are, what class you are, where you come from, who you have sex with. Yeah. It's not going to matter. It's going to be all of our kids that go. We have to really do something as the people in this nation right now. Stop with the division. The division is stopping us from stopping these people, and they're not a large group of people. And when you look at all of this and you look at the money that's been transferred to Ukraine or wherever it's going, they don't even care about what the United States, what happens to us. They are post-America, these people that are running these wars, running this money, all of these criminals. It is at a place where we are a captured nation, and our government and our military-industrial complex is not playing a game that has anything to do with us.
Yeah, and this is why the United States is in $34 trillion of debt. Right. This is why the biggest expenditure is, of course, for the military-industrial complex. It's for the wars right now in the Middle East. It's for the wars right now in Europe. It's for the wars right now also happening in Africa. There's a bunch of wars happening that people are totally unaware of. People don't understand that Barack Obama had 7 wars that he was conducting himself, and everyone was saying, but look how great he speaks. And I'm like,
Nobel Peace Prize, brother.
The guy is a sociopath that personally called off on the assassination of American teenagers. This guy is a sociopath. This guy is extremely dangerous. This guy probably is still in charge right now. And when you look at Biden's foreign policy, it's almost the same exact foreign policy that, of course, Barack Obama conducted. And that deserves a lot of scrutiny, as, of course, this is where the majority of money is going, if it's not going to larger DEI efforts, which we also want to talk about in a little bit. Before we do that, Clint, do you want to say anything else?
Yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the dispiriting nature of our time, because I think just to give a little bit of sympathy to the American people, because you're right, the rest of the world is blaming us because we're not in the streets, we're not protesting. The reality is that we've been languishing under probably the most vicious psychological operation in American history. Well, I share the rest of the world's anger towards the American people for not being willing to get into the street and protest. I also understand a little bit why. And especially when you look at what happened to Trump supporters, you can definitely see why people would be very cautious about ever going out and protesting. I mean, I'm a political commentator and, like true blue libertarian. And I was nervous. I went and spoke with Ron Paul and a bunch of people at the End the Damn Wars rally in DC. And I was nervous about, agent provocateurs and things like that. Like it's a very concerning time right now.
Well, this is the talk that we keep hearing from a lot of people. Whenever there's any kind of large event or gathering or protest, everyone's like, hey, don't go. They're going to set you up. And I'm like, That's a chilling effect that they have psychologically affected us in such a way where resistance is futile, and that belief is ingrained in a lot of people's minds, which is absolutely sad.
Yeah, people are, just their hopes have been dashed broadly. I mean, economically, family formation, job, career path, even protesting your own government. People are just like, this is hopeless. We have the Epstein stuff, and people are like, nothing's going to happen. I mean, I get it. I totally understand why people are so dispirited, but I just strongly believe that we have to maintain hope. If we give up hope, then it is truly hopeless at that point, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of hope, though, because I feel like they've pushed it too far. I watched the entire pandemic, everything that happened through the last few years. I just think people are exhausted. It's becoming absurd. They're not even hiding it. Everyone from all different walks of life are speaking out about it. You know, even this whole thing with the president of Harvard and then the DEI backlash. It's not white or black or gay or straight or Asian or it's all kinds of people are standing up and saying this is destroying the very fabric of what makes America worthwhile at all.
Yep.
And I just think, I really do think sometimes you overplay your hand, and that's where I think these people are. And then again, we have to also define they. There is a they. I feel like if most American people, not everyone watches you or Luke or you or anyone, but the people that do get it, but there are a lot of people out there that if it was explained to them that our country was captured by a globalist billionaire oligarchy and that they're manipulating our nation from the inside to destroy ourselves by ourselves, fighting amongst ourselves and all of this. If people really understood this, I think that they would feel righteous indignation as American citizens and be like, what? There's people outside. You mean our government is captured? I just think people need to get it. And I think slowly but surely, everyone around me, at least, that doesn't get it, at least knows something is very, very broken and very wrong and wants to understand it more now than ever.
Yeah. Well, they love inciting fear, and that's essentially their major kind of control vector, because if they're able to make you afraid of them, they're able to control you. But in reality, I think they're a lot more insecure. They're a lot more afraid than we realize, especially in this kind of election cycle where everything is possible. I think they're really threatened with Twitter. They're really threatened with Rumble. They're really threatened with political presidential candidates, individuals like Vivek Ramaswamy that are speaking truth to power in very strong ways that are galvanizing and motivating people, as of course this huge wall of lies could be very easily toppled with just one person speaking truth to it. And that terrifies the people in power right now, because their whole system, everything that they built, everything that they worked so hard for, could be taken down in an instant, because it was all built on a bed of lies, on deceit, on fear, on bull crap. That crap's coming down, and it's coming down because people are finally able to say, you know what? Screw you. I'm not afraid of you. I'm going to speak my mind. Vivek Ramaswamy, hey, say what you may about him. You may disagree with some of his policies, especially when it comes to Mexico, whatever it might be. I don't care. He's been really knocking it out of the park, as of course we have the latest video of him addressing a reporter about white supremacy, which I think was a brilliant response to them. Here is Vivek in his own words.
You didn't say that you condemn white supremacy.
I'm not going to recite some catechism for you. I'm against vicious racial discrimination in this country. So I'm not pledging allegiance to your new religion of modern wokeism, which actually fits the test. I'm not going to bend the knee to your religion. I'm sorry. I'm not asking you to bend the knee to mine, and I'm not going to bend the knee to yours. But do I condemn vicious racial discrimination? Yes, I do. Am I going to play your silly game of gotcha? No, I'm not. And frankly, this is why people have lost trust. And I know you're going to go print the headline tomorrow. I already know this. We already know how your game works. Vivek Ramaswamy refuses to condemn white supremacy because you asked a stupid question. The reality is, I condemn vicious racial discrimination in this country, but the kind of vicious and systematic racial discrimination we see today is discrimination on the basis of race in a very different direction. You want to know what the best way is to end discrimination on the basis of race? Stop discriminating on the basis of race. Do that, and we're going to move this country forward. And I don't care whether you're black or white or brown or anything in between. That's how we're going to unite this country. You people have been responsible for dividing this country to a breaking point, creating a projection of national division. I meet people from the south side of Chicago to meetings like this one of every shade of melanin, multiple, from man to woman, doesn't make a difference, who are hungry for reviving unity in this country. And you, with your catechism that you try to get to politicians to whatever fake headline you're going to print on the basis of this conversation tomorrow, that's what's dividing this country to a breaking point. Shame on you. Look people in the eye and tell them what you've actually failed to tell them for the last 5 years. Own the accountability for your own failures as the media. That's how we rebuild trust in this country. And until then, I don't have a lot of patience to play the games.
Damn right. Where was the cigarette? There's supposed to be a cigar that was supposed to also come into the frame there, but hell yeah. Tell us how you really feel, Vivek. That was an awesome takedown. That was a direct response towards, again, just the corporate media trying to bring in nonsense into the dialogue, and it was just slapped down in epic fashion by Vivek Ramaswamy, who we're going to be doing a live show with here on Rumble in just a few days in Iowa, as we are going to be embedding with his campaign on the ground for the first primary here in the United States. I'm excited about that. I'm kind of asking myself, what do I ask this guy? Since, of course, he's been kind of knocking it out of the park lately. How do I actually, conduct an interview with him without just kind of going around in circles? But that right there, obviously, we're not going to. We might just ask him, "Hey, do you condemn white supremacy?" just to see what kind of response we would get from him. But other than that, what else do we ask him?
Yeah, well, it's going to be tough to come up with new questions, but I'll say this: I take some small pride in watching this topic of ESG and DEI, which myself and James Lindsay, and I'm sure Luke and many others have been trying to get this story out there for years now. And now that it's like hitting the mainstream, that you have a real presidential contender that's up there talking about how the DEI framework has divided us based off of race, while alleging or pretending that it's going to remedy all of the ancient evils of racism in this country. I'm so thrilled that he called not just DEI out, but the media who's been responsible for it, that has divided us based off of immutable characteristics, completely contrary to the lessons of Martin Luther King Jr. I am so grateful that this is happening.
Yeah, me too. And the other thing is, I really dug into this. I don't know if you guys saw, the Pentagon was forced to put out a document kind of basically saying that they were trying to weed out white supremacy in the ranks of the Pentagon. And basically, there is none. So they're having a little problem there. But I have to say, I this white supremacy thing really bothers me, because I don't see it. I don't know it. I lived in New York. I lived in LA. I don't know any white supremacists. I really don't. And I've never. I mean, there's people that hate alone. Everyone. And I can't. If people don't like people, they don't like people. But what I've come to realize in my work, at least, is that this isn't about white supremacy at all. This is about capitalism. This is about free markets. This is about different things than they're saying. And they say white supremacy anytime is like a buzzword. So if you go and look at some of the real hardcore socialists, I'm talking beyond the Democrat Socialists of America. I'm talking the ones that have events where Bill Ayers is the guest speaker, and Angela Davis is up there, and they're always, those are the people yelling about white supremacy. But then if you keep listening to them, then they go into like how capitalism's evil, and then they roll out the new inclusive capitalism, which is socialism, and then they talk about it in circles. And I don't really think that they don't mean white supremacy. And I think we have to just start laughing at it and calling it out and really making them define what they're saying.
It's just racism. It's racism against white people. That's exactly what it is. It's racism against the people because of the way that they were born, a population that's becoming a minority. And what happens when populations become minorities? They usually become a victimized class. There's historical references to this. This always usually happens societally. And it needs to be addressed, since, of course, a lot of people are trying to normalize this in this 1984 Orwellian double-speak bullcrap that is absolutely ridiculous. If you look at what's happening right now, not just on the TV commercials, on the TV shows and movies and virtually every form of entertainment, but you look at what's happening in the real world, as Bloomberg is reporting that major U.S. companies gave 94% of new jobs to people of color in 2021, according to the statistics and numbers that have actually come out highlighting, hey, you're born with a specific skin color? Get the hell out of here. You can't have a job because you're privileged.
Yeah.
Are you? No, you're being discriminated against because of the way that you were born, which is stupid, it's racist, and it's important for individuals like Vivek Ramaswamy to actually call out this racist crap for the crap that it is.
And a quick reminder that this is not just the DEI. This is where the ESG comes into play. If it weren't for the ESG framework, DEI really wouldn't have taken hold in all of the HR departments across corporate America. Barack Obama obviously implemented in 2011 with a federal mandate, but the real power brokers that brought this to bear was the Larry Finks of BlackRock, the State Street Vanguards of the world that deploy tens of trillions of dollars of capital into the American stock market. And they were the ones that mandated that you must have XYZ in terms of diversity on your board, in your employment, everything else. And that is what's really creating such a divide in this country. It is a top-down approach. It is not the free market.
Well, Wells Fargo even came out and said white people no need to apply for mortgages. Only people of color will get mortgages here. And I'm like, how can you support such a racist and biased frickin' policy? These numbers from 2021, they're staggering. As of course, all the S&P 100 companies participated in this larger DEI, equity, diversity. It's just racist. It's just straight in your face racism. As companies like Apple, Wells Fargo, Walmart, all of them all participated in racist, discriminatory hiring policies, saying, hey, you're born a different way we don't like, screw you. Get out of here. And of course, it's not just economic opportunities that are being denied to people. It's also specifically educational opportunities. And maybe it's for the better, especially with all the woke indoctrination crap that they put people through in the top universities. But it's not just in the TV commercials. It's not just almost every aspect of our society. Where isn't this kind of racist practice being put into play? Where?
Yeah,
it's everywhere.
It's omnipresent.
It's everywhere, and it's very sad because they're going as young as possible as well. And then at the same time, we have to also know there is a big problem in this country with these NGOs. Because this is how I started a long time ago. I was digging into a program in New York, Thrive New York City, that was supposed to be for the mentally ill and homeless. And I realized homelessness is a big business. And there's a lot of NGOs out there that would not exist if it was not for homelessness. So this whole DEI thing, we have to remember a lot of this is about this human rights campaign scoring system of they're scoring corporations, they're scoring academia, they're scoring this, that they walked in tandem with BLM, scoring this and scoring that, like you're talking the ESG score, and we allowed it to keep going. I mean, that's the other thing. And this is why I keep saying we have to empower ourselves and get together and forget like all the division, just reject the whole color revolution model that they're pulling on us and say, how do we fix this ourselves? Because these people have abandoned this nation. They've abandoned all of us. And we're sitting here fighting through something that we don't even agree with. I don't think most people believe in any of this, but these NGOs are really toxic and they're behind a lot of stuff. And I'm talking, it's the same billionaire globalist oligarch funding all of this stuff across the board.
Including the war in Ukraine.
Right.
The NGOs were responsible for fomenting that revolution. So I could not agree more. And the answer, as is usually the case, is going to be individualism. We have to stop viewing each other as collectives. We certainly have to stop hating each other on a collective basis. We have to assess each other based off of our merits as opposed to these immutable characteristics that we're born with.
That's racist. How dare you be merit? What? How, but then so much opportunity will be lost.
Yes, well, it sounds like Luke's joking, but if you actually look at Ibram Kendi and a bunch of these African-American academics that have been losing their minds on Twitter today because of Miss Gay's firing or her resignation, they are framing it because of Chris Rufo's description as a scalping, and that they're extrapolating it into some sort of like this is what the colonialists did to the Native Americans when they arrived, even though like scalping is to the best of my knowledge that was a Native American practice. Anyways, setting that all aside, it's just so divisive and nonsensical. And if you're willing to just view people on an individual basis, I think that is ultimately the solution to all of this, even though that is not what's being pushed.
That's racist. And systemic racism is real, but it's against white people, right?
It is.
Am I right?
It is today. It didn't used to be. I mean, this is what's so sad about it. We fought, how many decades did we fight to get rid of Jim Crow and redlining and all of these other terrible atrocities that were enforced by the government? And now we are voluntarily rolling these things out through corporate America. And because it's not the government dictating it directly. They have like a DEI program, which then extrapolates into ESG, which then has tens of trillions of dollars that's backing it. That means that it doesn't run afoul of the civil rights movement. But It does, though, in spirit, and we all have to realize that it is like they're using it as a workaround, a cutout to get through or get around our constitutional
But
rights.
hey, aren't you proud where air traffic controllers and airline pilots are there because of the color of their skin and not because of their merit? Don't you feel happy that there was nearly so many airline collisions in record numbers last year? But it was done with a very diverse work staff. Don't you feel happy that you're able to be in an airplane knowing that you're fighting systemic racism?
Yeah, I mean, what's terrifying too is that they're doing this with doctors, with surgeons, with lawyers, with judges, with police, with military, all of that. The other thing we have to talk about too, I think, is this is a real war on the middle class, on the entrepreneurs, on the people that have small businesses. You're not going to be able to. They also, I am sure you guys all saw, but they put in more regulations in the last 2 years for small businesses than basically anybody else before them. And a lot of it is about this reporting on this DEI and all other things. This is where I think that they don't want a middle class at all. They don't want us to be entrepreneurial. I think this has a lot to do with what's going on in education too. They don't want ingenuity. They don't want creativity. They don't want artists. They don't want people that think outside the box. They want the big monopolies, this uber oligarch billionaire class, and then the UBI class, and then they always need the poor because they make a lot of money off the poor. And at the same time, we have to start taking responsibility and reinvesting in ourselves, in our local communities, in our friends, in our families, all that.
But these policies are kind of racist themselves, because say you're someone who actually worked and has the merit to be somewhere. If you're a certain color, everyone's going to be looking at you like, you don't deserve to be here because you only got here because of your skin color. That right there is the bull crap. And then when you put people in those kind of positions of power, also when they don't deserve to be there, you're doing a larger disservice for them. And this kind of notion where you now walk in, I literally walk into the airplane. I look at the cockpit. I'm like, who's flying this? I'm like, who's here? I'm like, do they know what they're doing? Are they here? And we wouldn't have any of that if it wasn't for these bull crap policies that are based on race and not on merit. I want the best pilot. I want the best doctor. I want the best freaking dentist. I don't want someone who shouldn't be there in the first place.
Yeah, regardless of race, obviously.
Yeah. But it's only going to get worse.
And I have to piggyback off of Mel's point because it's such an important one. The reason that they are rolling out these regulations against small business, I was an entrepreneur. I ran a small business for many years, over a decade. The reason that they're rolling out these restrictions is that the foundation by which corporate America is actually running and implementing these policies, it is as Luke often describes it, built on sand. There is no foundation to it. So the only way that they can maintain their power is to prevent competition. Because in an actual free market, a company, some small company, like Angel Studios, for instance, produces incredible movies, and they don't focus on any of the woke stuff. What they want to do is blacklist them, ultimately regulate them out of existence, because they want Disney to be able to force the woke nonsense into your child's minds. That's their whole power structures. It has to be done by force, because these are not good ideas. Good ideas will thrive without force.
Well, that's why the biggest corporations and the biggest billionaires usually call for the biggest regulations and the more taxes that, of course, limit and destroy any kind of competition that could step in their way. This is why they're saying more taxes, more regulations, more rules. Why? Because it stops anyone from being able to compete with them. And that's the longer game that I think people need to realize is unfolding here, as we have a tweet from Elon Musk addressing a lot of this. As just a couple of moments ago, he retweeted Bill Ackman and said, quote, "DEI is just another word for racism. Shame on anyone who uses it." And yes, I would absolutely agree with that. This, as Bill Ackman sent out a long tweet discussing what was happening at Harvard and his response to it. This is a very long response, and he describes how the E for equity in DEI is about equity of outcome, not equity of opportunity. And then, again, a lot of the stuff that they're doing boils down to what happened during the Cultural Revolution in China. A lot of this boils down to political purges that we have seen under communist nations, where people are not just... This is the first layer of this. This is the first step. The first step is racism. It's discrimination. It's outcasting. The second step gets a lot more serious, as of course you saw what happened in China, you saw what happened in the Soviet Union, you saw what happened under Stalin, you see what happens under communistic regimes, where if you're an enemy, if you're a property owner, if you are someone that the state doesn't like because of the way that you were born or a class of person that they don't really want around, they get rid of you in many horrible, awful ways. And I don't mean to be sensationalistic or hyperbolic, but this is the road that we're on. And prove me wrong if you think I am wrong. But
No.
Am I wrong?
No.
Yeah.
One of your best shirts that you put out was "Make 1984 Fiction Again," and there's this passage in 1984 where he's explaining the state, and he's saying how the Mao and the Nazis were kind of cowards because in that state in 1984 they just want power for power's sake, and they don't, and there is no way out, and that they know what they're doing, and they're not going to hide it. They're not going to hide behind all these little steps, and that takes us, of course, to Bezmenov and everything that they've been talking about, and how far we are forward to the normalization of all of this stuff. And again, that is only up to us and being individuals and refusing to play in this crappy game that they have us all stuck within. But the truth is that this is, going to keep going until we decide to be courageous enough to say no. And that goes with the same point.
Quick point off of what Luke was saying. Oftentimes people will push back against this equity or equality of outcome, and they'll say, no, the goal ought to be equality of opportunity. That's also wrong. You do not want the government involved in dictating that we all have the same opportunity. That enables them to roll out all of these same programs that ultimately lead us towards a non-free market, towards a top-down dictated economy. You don't want that. Equality of outcome is not ever going to happen. Neither is opportunity. You will, like, it's absurd to think that we should all have the same opportunity depending on your intelligence and your effort and where you're born and everything else. Like, that's ridiculous. So just dismiss all of that. Equity, equality, none of that goes. The only thing that we ought to get is equal treatment under the law. That's it.
But that's racist. How dare you be such a bigot, Clint? My goodness, your hatred is just spewing from your mouth. I can't believe it.
This is like American founders rhetoric, and they're like, racist. You're right, though. That's what they'll think.
But hey, at least the next Star Wars is going to be very woke, as well as, of course, we have this latest CNN video interview with a Pakistani feminist activist that was just given the Star Wars franchise, as she literally came out and says that she wants to make men feel uncomfortable. She talks about how she wants women to shape the story in a galaxy far, far away. I mean, holy cow. Man, this woman looks exactly like you think she would look. It's like Janine Garofalo, but like fatter and worse and more disgusting.
How'd she get
it? She got it because
ESG,
she is a woke priestess, and she fills out all the right categories. Yep. Oh, she's a feminist. Oh, she's a woman. Oh, she's a person of color. Who cares if she tells a good story? That's not what she's here for. She's here to, of course, push the woke doctrine, religion onto everyone, including children. And this is why this kind of hijacking of youth entertainment is so critically important to them, because they understand that a lot of woke people aren't having children. A lot of more Republican-based individuals are, more conservative individuals are. So what better way to usurp the nation, usurp the youth of this country than, of course, brainwashing them with utter nonsense and propaganda, specifically dealing with more girl bosses. Like, we don't have enough movies like that already. It's just ridiculous. It sucks to see plots, storylines be absolutely obliterated, all just to kind of worship at the altar of this woke nonsense that is just tiresome, to say the least.
Yeah, what's so crazy is that Kathleen Kennedy got so upset about the South Park Genius Panderverse show. I don't know if you guys saw that.
That was genius. That was awesome. I loved that show.
And
that was one of the best shows out there.
Did it?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know how she was like, the Kathleen Kennedy monster in it was like, put a woman in it and make her gay. Yeah. And then she was like, I got a great idea. Put a woman in it and make her gay. I mean, like the South Park guys just kind of called it, and she was like, oh, that's a good idea. Well, it's just so ridiculous at this point. And the truth about Hollywood is that this happened in the early 2000s, and it was a slow burn. A lot of people didn't know. You're from San Diego. I was in LA for 20 years. This is not new. And the idea that they are looking for plots and stories and all that, we just have happened to watch that Black Mirror, and I'm like, this is the most terrifying thing. But they don't even care anymore. It is either their predictive programming or they're humiliating you by making you watch this stuff over and over and pretend it's okay, and it's not.
I want to ask you guys, what do you think the next plot of Star Wars will be with this Pakistani feminist? What movie is she going to make? In short, what's going to be the theme of it? And we have some super chats that I wanted to read before we go towards your answers. We got one from Joseph Allen saying, Luke, great to see your stream a success. What names do you think will be coming out today, tomorrow? We're going to be talking about that on Rumble. If you have any other super chats, let them go now, and we will, of course, address them. We got one, mysuperchat.com from Stinky Sock 420. Great name, saying 2024 is starting with a bang. Clint, you need a Florida Marlins hat. You are a Florida man now. Thanks, Luke, for the great work. Tower Gang 911 Easterns. Thank you so much, Stinky Sock 420 for mysuperchat.com. Thank you so much, Joseph Allen. Let's go to you guys. Star Wars. The text goes down. What's the plot of the new woke Star Wars?
I'm not a big enough Star Wars fan to even guess at it, but I'll say
Luke
this.
Skywalker turns into a female, and is on the hunt for a lightsaber tampon that he needs to satiate his new bloody bonus hole that Darth Vader penetrated with another lightsaber, and only this.
The climax is
The family-friendly show here, Steph. Okay, family-friendly show.
Finish it on Rumble.
Control yourself
that's what
here.
they use for discussing.
Luke
the arc.
To make this
and then Chewbacca is going to, of course, definitely come out as
that again, Claire.
mixed gendered, and him and Luke are going to be doing it with the lightsaber tampon
And a taser.
and no taser. There's no tasers in Star Wars stuff.
Only when
there's
we get to
lightsa-
100,000
There's
subscribers.
lightsabers. Okay, all right. Now you guys go. What do you think's going on? Give us the plot. We need a plot.
To take it a slightly more serious note, and then I'll let you answer. I think that this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about, where like Disney should fail. Like they're a multi-billion-dollar corporation, but they ought to fail. They've lost hundreds of millions of dollars, over $1 billion off of their box office over just the past 12 months. And they're not learning their lesson. The reason they're not learning their lesson is because their funding source comes from the big money managers that all dictate you have to hire like this. If you don't, you will be divested, which means your stock price will tank, which means your CEO will be fired. And this is the whole reason it continues. But the point I was making earlier about the regulatory issue, this is going to sound very doom and gloom, but trust me when I tell you, this is coming. The Tuttle Twins produced this incredible series for children. Yeah. It's not woke. It's very inspirational. It's fantastic. Everybody should check it out if you have kids at home. But what will happen if they actually become a competitor to the Disneys of the world? I would imagine that they'd be debanked. I know I sound totally crazy to say that, but I bet you they will be labeled as a hate group, domestic terrorist, and they will be debanked. So we all have to prepare in accordance with that likely diagnosis.
What are those white guys called in those
stormtroopers.
Stormtroopers get canceled because they're white, sure. And then they become full rainbow stormtroopers that go out through the galaxy and force everyone to make love through bonus holes. So
I'm not gonna lie, the rainbow stormtrooper outfit would be pretty dope.
Yeah, I mean, and people would like that. I gotta say though,
Clint would wear it.
They went through this whole strike in LA and all that, and the crew didn't strike yet. I don't know why people in LA, because I lived there for a long time. I know a lot of people in the business. They don't like this either. Okay, it's gotten to a point where a lot of people do not want to deal with it. They go into meetings at Netflix or at Amazon and they walk out like, what is going on? If some of those artists, those real craftsmen, the gaffers and the lighting guys and the electricians and all that said, we're not going to work on this. Yep. If there is only so much talent on that level that can pull off this kind of content. If those guys started doing a backlash and saying, you know what, we're going to go work on indie films, we're not going to do it anymore. Those people really have to step up. And I know they think they negotiated. I'm in two of the unions that negotiated. they're going to get outed by AI anyway. They might as well walk away now with their heads held high and fight back for
Maintain
the
your
rest of us.
principles.
But they're all pathetic cowards. I know a lot of people in Hollywood. I know some celebrities that I also hang out with, and all of them are like, shh, don't tell anyone we're hanging out. And I'm like, you're pathetic, dude. Like seriously, come on. Are you freaking kidding me? You have an opportunity. You have a voice,
Right.
and you're choosing to sacrifice what you really care and what you really think about, all for some pesos, for some shekels, for some pennies, for some dollars that you won't be able to take away with you when you leave this world. It's meaningless, it's pointless, and you're selling yourself out and your country out for what? That one pathetic actor in that new Obama produced film. What was that Obama produced film that was also another major psyop?
Leave the World Behind.
Leave the World Behind. That actor, my God, what a pathetic little ninny. You have no self-respect for yourself for playing such an awful, horrible human being. You effeminized soy boy male. You should be shamed from everywhere you go now as just this pathetic actor, because he knew the role that he was playing. He
100%.
knew that he was going to be the pathetic white guy coward. He knew, and he played that role very well. It was very natural to him. And there needs to be shaming. There needs to be individuals saying, that's not just an acting role. You're a part of a larger propaganda effort in order to try to destroy people's identities and understanding of who they are as human beings. You are a part of a larger divisive race attack on people because of the way that they were born. You are disgusting. You are sad. You are pathetic. What's his name? I'm going to look his name up.
Ethan Hawke.
Ethan Hawke.
Yeah, Ethan Hawke. That message was for you.
Yeah, and the other thing, don't forget, the director came out and said that Barack Obama was there all the time. He was on the set every day. He was in their faces. He basically, he's best friends with Clooney, so Julia Roberts, of course, was in it, and what they're doing. And the other thing is about this movie, and people should look at it. They kind of act like there's no one. There's two themes to it. One is China and Iran. We have to get it's them,
Yep.
and the other one is that nobody's in charge. And we all know right now, or I believe that Obama is at least, I don't believe he's in charge of everything. I think he's the operative here that's kind of running things going down. But, then to have him go make a movie like this and put it out right at Christmas time, knowing everyone's going to see it, that was so in your face propaganda is so disturbing. And you know what? They don't care. And it's really sad. I'm sure all of you saw that interview where Roseanne was talking to Bill Maher and she asked him about the World Economic Forum. And he said, that's not real. That's not true. It's like,
so
do
ridiculous.
these people know? And I think we have to stop acting like no, they don't know. We have to start acting like they do know. And that's enough.
This is actually a really important point that it actually ties into both of what you just said. You're talking about how so many people go into these meetings and they come away like, God, this is so... It's so insulting. It's so ridiculous. Luke says the same thing. He knows actors that won't come out and tell the truth. What's the tie that binds there? You have a bunch of people scared to tell the truth. And they think that they are the minority because so many people are unwilling to tell the truth, that they don't like the woke trajectory of this nation. If I strongly believe this, if everyone were to tell the truth, you would probably have a vast majority of Americans that are not okay with the trajectory of things. But because everyone bites their tongue, we all think we're in the minority. I don't encounter anybody in my personal life that goes, "Oh, Clint, the way you talk, man, I really think that you're racist." It's like, no, what I'm saying is like classic Americana 1980s stuff. But now I'm some fringe radical because I'm the only person that's not biting my tongue. Stop biting your tongue. You're not in the minority. Nobody wants to hate other people based off of their skin color. Let's stop regressing into that, just thinking that it's some sort of improvement because now it's directed towards white people as opposed to other classes or categories of people. It's ridiculous. I'm sick of it.
Yeah, we're against this bullcrap, no matter who's getting, hated on. If you hate someone because of the way that they're born, you're an idiot.
Yep.
You're an absolute jackass. Like, you deserve no respect in our society. And I don't care who you are and who you're doing it towards. That kind of thinking being normalized again, being weaponized again, and being somehow just okayed by individuals. As of course, there's pathetic little soy boys out there who are like, yeah, sure, yeah, oh, I'm so horrible, I'm so bad. You're a dumbass, all right? Yep. And you not standing up for yourself is just as bad as the people who, of course, are striking you down as you kneel down and accept this persecution because of the way that you're born, you're an idiot. All of you, idiots, pathetic,
you're
boy cowards.
You're just as pathetic as Ethan Hawke.
Yes.
But
And
he's actually
Ethan
playing
Hawke
a role.
is pretty pathetic.
He's playing a role. You're living it. You're living that lifestyle. Think about how sad that is. That you wake up every day and you bite your tongue, you go to work and you act as if you're an oppressor because of your skin color. What a nightmare existence to feel that way. Or you go to work every day and you act like you're a victim because you were born as a woman or a black person or a Mexican person. Like that's a sick worldview. We have to shake ourselves from that.
Yeah. Even worse is the parents that allow that to happen too.
When you force that down your kids'
can't even
throats,
believe it.
It's devastating to me to see
And
that.
I agree with you. I think we don't know the majority because the majority is being told to us by the fake media. But I
Exactly.
believe the majority is definitely not down with 90% of this stuff. I honestly think left of center, right of center, if there is left and right, which there's not. But if you look at it that way, I think pretty much agree on almost everything right now. And we're just not allowed to act like it.
Yep.
They're not for it, but they're accepting of it, and I would say that's just as bad from my perspective. That's how we feel on a family-friendly portion of the show. Now we are going to be going over to Rumble, where of course we get to say and do whatever we want. The show is going to be continuing there, so if you're watching on YouTube, all you have to do right now is just go to rumble.com, and we are there, prominently featured on the front page, the #1 recommended broadcast, as of course our partnership with Rumble is an absolute awesome one. They are putting their money where their mouth is. They're standing up for free speech. They're standing up against governments, and there's no place I would rather be than a place where I could finally speak my mind. Again, I'm biting my tongue here. There's so much more. I just want to say there's so much more that I want to just fully unleash on, and I can't on this digital frickin' crap hole that is Susan Wojcicki's gulag. I can't. Well, I explained my strategy before. It's frustrating, but again, this is the situation that we're in. We have a lot of YouTube subscribers. We don't have that many subscribers on Rumble. We reach 100K on Rumble, and Clint is getting tasered. Now, Mel, before we move over to Rumble, where can people find you and support your work?
TheMelKShow.com is my website, but my main hub is Rumble as well. The Mel K Show. You can hop over there right now if you want and subscribe to me. I put out a new show every single night, 7 days a week, all year, nonstop. And I like to have on the best people out there. So check out me. I'm on all free speech platforms, not YouTube, not Telegram, not very small on Twitter, but I've been very grateful to Rumble myself. So please check me out over
Absolutely.
there.
Rumble's
I
the
was
best.
on your show before, and racist Clint. Where can people find you?
You can find me at your. God, I was going to make a really bad joke. I'll save that for Rumble. All right, at Liberty Lockpod on X. If you subscribe, I will follow you back. I got 116,000 of you over there. I really appreciate the following. Liberty Lockdown's the show. It's on YouTube and Rumble. I had an incredible show with Taylor Hanson as well as Josie the Redhead Libertarian just last week or a couple days ago. You should check that out. And last but not least, Tower Gang kicks off at 9:15 this evening. Don't miss it. Steph.
Steph, we are change. Let's go.
Let's go right now. Stop with the bull crap. Stop with the pathetic soy boy ninnying. Vote with your frickin' clicks and stop being a beta. Go right now. Rumble.com. It's easy. It's simple. I'm not going to send you the link. You can click it unless you got fat fingers on that frickin' keyboard. Click right now.